Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so what are we talking about, man? I don't even know. I just turned on the camera. Maybe we'll do some basketball since that's what's been the tradition of walking down Sunset over the last couple of weeks. Talk basketball. Um, the Lakers. We have a great situation so long as LeBron James is aggressive like he was last night. If he's aggressive like that, everybody follows him. And that's really what it comes down to. We don't often see that particular Bron come out many a game. And when I say many, over the course of 7 years, many games where I wanted him to do what he did last night so that we could have a chance of winning. Not to say that I want him to overshoot the three, because that's basically what it actually was. It wasn't like he was just driving at the basket over and over again, but the three was falling and it was leading to defense and it was leading to other players feeling confident, just leading the squad. And that is something that I don't see enough from the King. He don't have to take all the shots all the time, but when he's aggressive offensively, looking to score above 25 points, chances are we're going to have a better opportunity to get more spacing with other players. Our rotations are going to be funny at times, especially if guys are coming back from injury and stuff like that. All of that is just par for the course with Darvin. However, if he's aggressive, it locks in the focus of the rest of the players. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily equate to that. We've had games where he's been aggressive and nobody else shows up. But this team always shows up for big games, as I've said, especially this year's particular collection of guys. And yesterday was yet another prime example of us taking the big game seriously. We were not playing well through three quarters, but in the fourth quarter, we turned on that heart and refused to lose. I liken it to having a switch that you can turn on and off that people often talk about. We turned the switch on in the fourth quarter. We turned the switch on despite the circumstances that we were doing to hurt ourselves, and ultimately won the basketball game. And I think there's a lot to be said for just the overall heart of the team when they're motivated. Now the question is, what unlocks that motivation? And to me, it seems to be big games, nationally televised games, historic games. They may not show up tonight against the Washington Wizards. They may not show up in one of the random Sacramento Kings games. But if you let them play the Celtics and the Clippers and the Warriors back to back to back to back, they're going to show up for every one of those games, because that's just the DNA of this basketball team. Now, the Denver Nuggets, an entirely different story. We may show up and still lose because it seems like they have a formula for beating us. But what I would tell everybody about the Denver Nuggets, besides what has already been said, which is that they don't score a lot and haven't scored a lot since the beginning of, I want to say January. Because early in the season, if you look at the Denver Nuggets scoring, they were scoring 130, 140 points like they normally do. But over the last several months, last 2 months, their scoring has decreased more and more and more, and the losses have been coming a little more frequently, to the point where they had trouble scoring big time right before the All-Star break. Now, I don't know if that's changed as of late. I know they just beat the Washington Wizards and somebody. I don't know who else. I haven't been paying attention to Denver that closely since the All-Star break. But their issue right now is scoring the ball. And can they get enough scoring from guys that are not in their starting lineup? But what I would tell everybody, even if that isn't the case, even if you want to dispute that to high hell, what you got to understand about the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets is, most of the times we play that team, it's a close game, we just lose in the end. It's not like they're blowing us out every single time we see them, nothing like that. They blew us out in the game to start the season, which I don't count because it was just the beginning of the season. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time they saw us, it was close. And several of the other games, especially throughout the course of the Western Conference Finals, all of those scores were close. All of those games were within like 7 points or less. So, do I fear the Denver Nuggets? When a team shows you that they can beat you over and over again, you should have a healthy fear for what it is that they can do to you next time. But the reality is, the way that they've been beating us is just something we have to find a way to overcome. We got to lock up defense down the stretch. We got to study those losses and ultimately put that team in a position to have a harder time executing down the stretch of basketball games. And there are things we can do schematically that I'm sure can make it much more difficult than them. We just have to try something new. We can't keep doing the same stuff and expect the same results. And so that's what I think the Lakers have not figured out yet, is how best to defend this basketball team in the closing 5 minutes of the basketball game, and how best to overachieve and more or less executing a bit better than they can. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that we figured it out. I don't know that if we were to try new things, it would work it out. But what I can tell you is we've been losing these games the same way, just about every time. So next time we see the Denver Nuggets, which will be about, hell, it might be the next game after this one tonight. I think we might see them after this. We need to approach them with a certain understanding of either blitzing them early and trying to outscore them every quarter, for which their defense is much improved, or if we happen to find ourselves in a close game, doing something different than what we've done these other games, which has yielded us the same results. Play the perimeter a bit harder, in my opinion. Turn Jokic into a full-time scorer in the paint. That's what I would do. And if Jokic can make 70 points off layups, then that's just, you can just count that as one of the many ways they can beat us. But as far as I can tell, they're usually killing us from behind the arc with corner threes from guys like Gordon and Porter, and of course, the great closer in Jamal Murray, who really, if he gets it going, it's kind of nothing anybody can do. He's just one of the great scorers in this league, and he has hardware to prove it now. So I don't expect that even if you do everything perfect, he won't string together 18 points in the fourth quarter and knock you off. He's built like that. So that's kind of the concern about the Denver Nuggets. They just have the Lakers' numbers. They got a lot of confidence against this team, and in going against them, you have to assume that they're going to feel heightened about just what they should be able to do against us. And so that's what it really comes down to. Certain teams just have your number, and the two teams that concern me about in regards to having our number is the Denver Nuggets and the Sacramento Kings. And the Sacramento Kings, as I've said before, is because they have De'Aaron Fox. Now, we're going to get 2 looks at them over the next 2 weeks. So hopefully we can kind of put a little doubt in them. Maybe we can do some things to shut De'Aaron down. Maybe we can have a whole game where we focus on just shutting him down. That might help some. Even if you lose the game, you want to put some doubt in that player's mind, because at the end of the day, he continues to slaughter us every time he sees us. He continues to run past whoever we're putting in front of him. And I just think that when you could see it in the playoffs, and you know how important it is in regards to trying to put some losses under their belt for your seeding situation, you've got to throw something at them that will put doubt in their mind. It can't just be about winning the game, believe it or not. You got to shut somebody down that's been kicking your tail. So that's really what it comes down to. I would put all of my focus in the next game or the one afterward against Sacramento in making sure that De'Aaron Fox does not kill us. I don't care who else kills us. If it's a Malik Monk, if it's a bonus, I'll live with that. But we got to put some doubt in the mind of a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who continues to destroy the Lakers 4 games this season, year in and year out. So that's what's coming to mind for me. You got to put some doubt in that kid's head. Also, when it comes down to it, I do think our experience is going to help us a lot against teams like OKC and Minnesota, even though they have seeding, the home court advantage on us and all of that. I still think at the end of the day, we're going to have a tough time beating them, but we should be able to. Give me a second. Sorry about that. We're in real time walking down Sunset Boulevard, and they got a job to do. That was probably very loud in your ears. I'm very, very sorry. But nevertheless, where was I? We got to put doubt in the mind of some of these guys that are younger than us, like De'Aaron Fox and Anthony Edwards. Since we loved pulling stars away from the game and letting role players beat us, it's been losing us basketball games. But it can have a positive effect if you frustrate the right guys. That's what it really comes down to. If you can frustrate the right players who you may see in the playoffs, if you can bang some dudes up in such a way that makes them think twice about going at the rim, that kind of thing, if you can do that, it can have one or two effects. Either it can make them put a target on your back and make them play even better next time they see you, or it can put some doubt in their mind about whether or not they should try you. I would try it. Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all of my defense is going to be trying to stop those dudes. And I understand it's been the way the Lakers have been losing. It's focusing on stopping stars. But when it really comes down to it, those young superstars that don't have that experience, I want them wondering if they are as good as they are coming up against us and LeBron James. That's what I want. I want them thinking about getting beat up, and I want them thinking about questioning whether or not it makes sense to drive at the rim, which is why that centerpiece is so important that we don't have, that enforcer that can just knock somebody out of the sky. I think that stuff has so much psychological positivity on your team versus their team coming against you. It really does. You gotta be physical with guys, man. Come playoff time near the end of the season when people are already tired, 70 games already been played, you want to knock guys out of the sky. I cannot stress this enough. And that's why I miss Shaquille, man. That's why I miss that type of talent, because it's like, look, we're not going to let them in the paint. They come in here, they're going to the ground. And maybe they call a flagrant foul on me, but next several times they see me, they're going to know, should I come at him this way? Should I? No, you don't. You definitely don't. It's the type of physicality that I think the Lakers need to adapt to. We are not a soft basketball team, but we don't necessarily have the manpower to pull off what it is I'm trying to describe, which is frustrating to me. But I do look at a guy like Rui Hachimura, who can be that enforcer. He is strong. He's as big as Bron, and as strong as he needs to be a problem out there. I'm sending him at people. I know how important of an offensive player he is for us, so I don't want him to catch flagrant fouls or nothing like that. But there will be some fouls if I'm coaching the team. Some people are going to the ground. And y'all can say I'm dirty, I'm effective. When it comes to stuff like this, I know it works because I've been watching this all my life. At the end of the day, if guys have confidence against you and they're superstars, what likely ends up happening is their role players either show up for the big game like Phoenix's role players did, or they wean off because they get frustrated at the fact that their stars can't open up things for them defensively by drawing so much attention. Now we can scoot back on those guys and allow their talent to either beat us or cause them wins, depending on how well they're playing on a given night. So these are important things in my opinion. If you're going to beat a team like the Sacramento Kings, you're probably not going to shut down a guy like Sabonis, but you don't want a guy like De'Aaron Fox driving at the rim over and over and over and over again. You do not want that. You know, a game like that's why I kind of want the Lakers to rest their stars, or at least one of them tonight, because we got some really big games coming up, and I think those games could be potentially physical. I really do. And a game like Washington, you definitely can't afford to lose, but they don't really want to win, in theory, because you are coming up against Kyle Kuzma, and he could very well try to shoot all the shots tonight just to get a victory. But they're such a poor run basketball team at this point, and they have so much to gain from losing, that I don't really know that even if you sit Anthony Davis, you probably still win the game. You know, so these are the type of things I'm thinking about. I just want to buy us as much rest as possible. We haven't really been doing that as of late. Definitely didn't do it last night. And so for me, I just want to see the Lakers rest up and then become physical. Physical. One thing I was listening to with Jason Timpf, he was talking about the game last night. He mentioned two things that I didn't identify at all. How well we adjusted to the fourth quarter offense that the Clippers have been running all night. We adjusted very well to that. And what he described, and I encourage everybody to go check out his content for a better description of what I'm going to be giving you now. But essentially what he was saying was we started using blitz patterns to try to take the ball away from James Harden or try to force him into situations where he had to pass early. As a result, we were able to force them into an action that put what's the guy's name? Mason Plumlee in some situations and made it so that he had to turn into a passer. Now, I personally think Mason Plumlee is a good passer, but the way he described it, for which I did not identify myself, he was essentially saying that Mason Plumlee then had to make certain decisions on a 4-on-5 situation that he didn't ultimately thrive in, and we were able to have coach remove him from the floor and then put Daniel Tice on the floor, as to which LeBron James was able to cook Daniel Tice in the fourth quarter. So that's a good adjustment that he described that Darvin Ham made. And from there, he was also talking about how, I think I lost my train of thought on the last one, but the point that I wanted to make on that one was, you know, we just need to continue to try to find advantages and make the adjustments necessary to put us in a position to win basketball games as we find ourselves being beaten. We can't give up on these games because seeding is too important, and we can't afford to tack on any losses. So, there may be games where our adjustments in the first half or what they're coming at us with may not work. It may work, and we may find ourselves in situations where we're going to have to make better decisions. But at the end of the day, those decisions will have to be made in order for us to compete, and it's important that we make those adjustments. So kudos to Darvin Ham for the adjustment in the fourth quarter to ultimately get Plumlee off the floor and put Tice on the floor for LeBron James to take advantage of. And it really helped that Zubac wasn't out there. It really helped that Paul George wasn't out there as well. We may not be as lucky going up against some of these other bigger time teams in regards to their personnel being missing from these games. But then again, that brings me to another thought. Maybe we do. Maybe we get lucky and some of these teams start resting some of their players because they are coming up on the end of the season, and some of these teams do not find themselves in a position to lose their seeding or gain or whatever. Maybe that can help us. Just a thought. But we could sure use some help there. But at the end of the day, man, the Los Angeles Lakers, we do have to find ways of utilizing guys like Cam Reddish and Dinwiddie a bit better. And the only way you're going to do that is to get them on the floor. But this is why I say practice is so important, because if you put these players in real-time situations, trying to experiment and work them back in the equation, doing stuff that they've never done with players that they've never played with, a la Dinwiddie and Cam Reddish, you can find yourself in a situation where your team is suffering for it in real time. You don't want your team to suffer in real time. You want your team to have some of these things under control. You want to be in games that are so big. You want to run stuff that you know. You want to be able to be on a string, not experimenting. And that was my frustration with yesterday's game. We were doing a lot of experimenting through three quarters with rotations, shaking stuff up and overplaying guys and crap like that, just like we did in Phoenix. And it really almost cost us the game. We found ourselves down by 21 points with some of them bad rotations. You know what I mean? It needs to not happen if we're serious about getting where we want to go. These are things that we need to have under control. And I know that injuries have kind of thrown that off, and that's a perfectly fine excuse. But just the same, this is why I say we practice more. If you practice more, you work some of that stuff out in practice, and in theory, your players should run better stuff and have more continuity down there and all of that. So, Lakers need to just tighten up. Some of it's going to be luck. We're going to need guys to be cold against us, that kind of thing. We're going to need some luck, but we're going to need some teams to lose around us. It would be great if Dallas dropped about 6 games in a row, and if Sacramento dropped about 6 games in a row, that'd be fantastic. If the Warriors fall off somehow, these are things that would really help us, but we can't control anything but what's within our control, and that's why experimenting is so harmful, in my opinion, with these rosters and rotations. It's extremely harmful. So I want to see more of what works. More of what works. I just wish Darvin Ham was a bit more comfortable not playing Taurean Prince so much. I wish he were more adaptive to, hey, guys can't necessarily run with one another, so let's just kind of audible into some stuff that we know works. That kind of thing I think is very important for a coach when you have a team that has injury bug issues that particular season. We're struggling, man. And some of his rotations just make it a bit harder on top of what's naturally there for our issues, that are naturally there as issues, rather. So we're happy to have won yesterday's game. It might have been a season saver when you really consider where we were headed. If we can get this game tonight, we pick up 2 wins, as to where a lot of teams that we're ultimately going up against are not playing right now. So we could really gain some ground, in theory, if we win tonight's game. And under normal circumstances, I would expect that we would. But the team that we are, I don't really know, man. I think it's crazy to say, but I think it's 50-50. Lakers show up tonight. I think it's 50-50 that the Wizards look at the fact that we've lost certain games throughout the course of the season and feel like if they can hit shots, they may be able to win. Now, I've seen us blow teams out that we're supposed to beat this year too, but I look back on the San Antonio games. You know, if the Wizards study what San Antonio did when we went down there for 2 games back to back, they may be able to see where they can attack us themselves. So it's like, these are the type of things that frustrate the hell out of me, thinking that my team should win these games. There should be no reason we lose to the Washington Wizards, but I have a legitimate concern that it is possible we lose to the Washington Wizards, and I worry that is a telltale sign that my team just ain't quite good enough to do what it is I hope they would. You know, the fact that they have lost some of those games that they shouldn't have lost, and the fashion from which we've lost to certain games, just like I can't shake some of that off. As a fan, as somebody who's been paying close attention all season long, some of these losses leave me more so concerned than I probably should be, given the personnel that we have and who we're going against. Shouldn't be worried about the Washington Wizards, but I am worried the Lakers won't show up for the Washington Wizards. I shouldn't be worried about the San Antonio Spurs, but we've already lost a game to the San Antonio Spurs. You see what I'm saying? So that's my concern with the squad. Like, can they stop, pay attention to what they're doing in regards to the teams they're going up against, and just don't find themselves being laissez-faire against lesser teams. You don't want to just show up against Clippers. You don't want to just show up against Denver. You want to show up against everybody, because that's the importance of what your situation is right now. So, yeah, man, it's rough. It's rough. I hope people are enjoying the season. I'd be lying if I said I'm having a great time with this season. We have had some of the most memorable games this year, though. Beating the Celtics without Bron and AD, the Golden State double overtime win, yesterday's game. There's been some memorable games this year, but at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, the only reason why these games are so memorable is because we probably didn't play well in most of them, and they were close because of it. And so that's what it really comes down to. Can we get out of our own way, get an easy victory tonight against a Wizards team that is hurting, gain some ground on them Warriors, and the one player that was on the injury list report for tonight that I forgot to mention in my pregame video was Isaiah Levers. He's out for the season. So that's what's going on. They just picked him up in trade less than a month and a half ago, and if I'm being real, he's probably the worst player in all of basketball. I ain't even gonna hold you. Every game I saw him in, he was awful, like legitimately awful, for the Detroit Pistons. And they played him a consistent amount of minutes, and he was bad in every minute I saw him play. So I don't know that the Wizards are not better for him not being there, to be completely and utterly honest with everybody. He's a young forward, but homie's not very good. I'm just being real. Man, so that's really what it comes down to. I respect every opponent, and that's what I hope to encourage all basketball fans and players to do. Respect all opponents, not take nothing for granted, least of all opportunities on the biggest stage of the NBA, man. If you're in the NBA, everybody should be taken seriously every single night. And if you do that, you're going to get your handful of blowouts and victories and close games that you'll win. But if you start thinking that you're better than you are, or you start thinking you're going up against YMCA players in the NBA just because they done lost 12 in a row, believe me, somebody you're not expecting can have the game of their life, especially if you're the Lakers at Crypto.com Arena. People dream about hitting shots in that building. So we need to respect that and show up with a certain level of intensity tonight. And just consider what works and what doesn't. Do the homework on not only the opponent, but yourself. Consider what worked in the past. Consider who you were going up against when certain things worked. And if you could duplicate what you've already done that works, try it again. You know, I want to ride the hot hand. That type of thing, man. I just want to see my team make good decisions. And if we do that, I think we have a shot. So that's pretty much what I got to say. Salute the Kobe Minutes. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.